Hello, everyone. I'm Sioni. I'm a senior here. I'm from Tanzania.
I'm Valerie. I'm a freshman. I come from Colombia.
I'm Apurva. I'm from Nepal and I'm a sophomore.
I'm Kate. I'm from Shanghai. I'm a junior. What inspired you to look into the U.S. higher education institutions?
I was going to school throughout my entire life in Tanzania. I wanted to look into schools in the US just to see what it's like.
Liberal arts education, that was actually the reason I applied to the US. And when I talked to people in the US, what I really saw was learning wasn't about grades, it was about values that comes with learning.
Liberal arts education really pushed me to broaden my eyesight.
It just gives you opportunity to be able to explore, to question, to get different skills, not only like academic ones, but leadership, communication, etc.
So I think liberal arts college gives you an opportunity to explore the true me.
Liberal arts schools are usually smaller than regular universities. When you're not in a class, someone actually knows that you're not in the class. Versus going to a class that's 150, you can feel the sense of belonging and not just feel like you're a number.
What I like the most is the opportunity to meet people from different backgrounds, places, and religion.
I think that's the crux of liberal arts education, is that it's not about just one area, it's not about just the classroom, it's about so much more than the classroom, it's about who you are, it's about how you live your life, and just that aspect of education that's so holistic that you don't really get that anywhere else.
Hello everyone and welcome to our session today. We are very happy to have you all here. I'm so happy that there are so many live viewers today with us. We really appreciate your interest in our today's webinar. So my name is Alina, I'm an education advisor, and we are here to offer you another interesting webinar specifically about graduate studies. So for all those who are in process of preparing their statement of purpose, we have today special speakers that would have an interesting presentation for those who are crafting their statement of purpose. So we'll have interesting advice, tips that you can use for it. And at the same time, I would just like to remind you that Education USA Virtual is here to offer you interesting webinars, MOOCs, courses that you can find on our website. You can also subscribe to our YouTube page and to our social media to be updated for our next sessions and next webinars. So as I said, today we have two speakers from Temple University. So we have Erica Johnston and we have Mary Scholl. Mary, I hope I spelled correctly your name. Your last
correct,
name.
Yes.
That's good. Great then. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining us today. We really appreciate your effort doing this presentation. I'm more than hopeful that this is going to be super useful to our audience today. And you guys, please submit your question in the chat. We will answer the question that you have addressed to us before the start of the webinar, so using the registration link, and then we will also answer the question that we'll get during this live webinar also. So thank you, ladies, once again. The floor is yours.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Okay, so who's going to start with the presentation then?
Are you clicking through the slide share?
Sure.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much. So my name is Erica Johnston. I serve as the Assistant Director for Specialized Programs here at the Center for American Language and Culture at Temple University. I'm joined by my colleague, Mary Scholl.
Hello.
Mary is our ESL and Tech Specialist here at the Center for American Language and Culture. We offer intensive English language programs. We work very closely across Temple University with many other university partners. And we would like to offer a special thank you to our Temple University colleagues who actually created the initial round of this presentation that they have shared many times in regards to the statement of purpose and personal statement writing. So we would like to thank Kimberly Buck-Speck, Dr. Barbara Gorka, Dr. Darla Jimenez, and Dr. Mark Coloco as well.
Okay. And in our session today, we'll have, we've had our introductions. We're going to talk about the elements of your graduate personal statement, some common pitfalls or problems that students have when they're writing, and some additional tips and resources to help you do a good job when writing your statement of purpose. And like Erica said, we're from the Temple Center for American Language and Culture. Feel free to visit our website to see our different English programs. We have our intensive program, which is our main program. We have a conditional admissions program for undergraduate students who are admitted to Temple but need to work on their English a bit. We have several graduate programs, including one for international teaching assistants for graduate students who will be applying to other graduate programs and those who are going to graduate programs here at Temple. We have a number of online courses, and then we have some short-term programs, mostly for high school and undergraduates, including our American Culture at Temple program.
Wonderful, thank you. So we also wanted to introduce some of the Temple University graduate programs. I myself am a two-time Temple alumna, and we know from speaking with Alina and many of the Education USA advisors that these are some of the graduate programs that those who've joined us today are most interested in. So we have our law program, or our LLM, our Master of Law program. We have many programs in the College of Science and Technology, many programs, graduate programs in the College of Engineering, and our Fox School of Business also offers a number of master's and doctoral degrees as well. And then we have embedded a link to general graduate program inquiries if you are interested in programs at Temple University. Okay, so you have joined us all today to really start to think about a key component of many graduate student applications is a personal statement or statement of purpose. In the United States, those two terms are often used pretty interchangeably. Sometimes you might hear letter of interest or letter of intent, statement of purpose, personal statement. Those are often used quite interchangeably. They are a well-crafted, well-thought-out letter that is an indication of your graduate priorities and interests. It's a story. It is uniquely and distinctly your story. There are components to the personal statement that are narrative, argument, and reflective, pulling in components of your resume or CV all together in one package. So another key piece that Mary and I would like to share with you all is that these are best practices through our lens working in U.S. higher education. So our recommendations today are based off of what we know, having worked with graduate students and undergraduate students, just the general U.S. higher education landscape, typically what personal statements often include. So the first key piece is really treating personal statement as a narrative. It's about your academic and career trajectory and connecting the dots between your past, your present, and your future. So you may answer questions or prompts such as, what led you to your interest in this profession or field of study, right? So what about your pulling in components of your past, your story that have kind of brought you and led these interests to this moment? Well, what are you doing now to prepare you for graduate programs or graduate schools and those future goals? If applicable, do you know what you want to specialize in, what research questions you may have, making those connections to present and future together. And then, of course, your overarching goal of how you might leverage this graduate degree, what kinds of work or research or teaching you see yourself doing after you complete the degree, and what those career goals are. As a narrative, this should be engaging, interesting, and again, uniquely you and your story connecting between your past, present, and future. Personal statement is also an argument, right? You are trying to persuade the person or team that is reviewing these letters from many different candidates all over the world. And you're trying to persuade them that you are a great candidate to not only be admitted in their school, but potentially for scholarships or research assistantships or teaching assistantships in their school. So in order to make the personal statement persuasive, you may ask yourself, what experiences, research, coursework, internships, volunteer opportunities, or other experiences you may have that have helped prepare you to excel in this program, in your field, in this discipline, in this career. Another key component is this next bullet point. Why do you belong in this specific school, university, program? This is where you can really make key connections to faculty that you may really want to work with, connecting with programs or research or writing that they've done, and make that really personal and clear connection between yourself and your goal to work with a specific faculty member or a specific program, right? Why is that program for you? Why is this such a great match? So really being specific about why that program is a great fit for you and why you want to be there and they should want you to be there is what we're going to do in the argument piece. But as an argument, we want the tone to be professional, right? So you are making the case for yourself, but you also want to do so in a very professional manner. The last piece of the sort of element of a personal statement is to be really reflective. So you highlight, but you don't list your key academic, volunteer, work, or internship experiences that illustrate how ready you are for the rigor of this particular program. Reflect on your experiences to set yourself apart from other candidates. So what is special or unique or distinctive or impressive about you, your life story, and your background? What details of your life, whether it's personal, familial, history, or people or events that have shaped you and influenced your goals, that might help the committee or the reviewer better understand you and set you apart from those other applicants for this program.
Okay, now we're going to talk about some things that you want to avoid in your statement of purpose. As Erica said, you want this to be uniquely you. You want to avoid statements that just tell what you want your reviewers to see about you. You want to show. For example, you want to avoid statements, I'm passionate about German. I like studying biology. You want to show through stories and examples how you got interested in the field that you plan to study in. We have the example here. Okay, I've returned from studying in Germany. Instead of just saying, I like studying German, you show how this had such an impact on you. You want to avoid cliche statements, I like to help people. You want to show how your helping people will be part of your academic career, how your helping people brought you to where you are today. Volunteering at a clinic helped you contribute to your community and understand health education. This is now something that you are interested in studying as your career. So you want to avoid telling and cliches. Even though this is a story about you, you often want to avoid having a personal statement that is too personal. Think twice about your personal events in your life. If it was traumatic, you might want to summarize it briefly. Focus on how the experience informed you, influenced your academic or professional career. But make sure that you're not too personal. Don't talk about how an issue held you back, but how you overcame the issue, and especially if you can connect that to your academics. Don't start with an argument, an anecdote, just because you heard that you should do that. Don't just grab the attention of your reader for the sake of doing that. Don't make it too dramatic. Again, make sure that this is linked to the academics that you are planning to engage in. And when you're, again, this is a story about yourself. Avoid writing about your parents or a social issue, other people, without connecting back to yourself. It's your personal statement. It's not a personal statement about your professor, about your parents, a social issue. It needs to come back to what you want to study and how this is important for you. And very important, don't just state your resume or your CV. As it says here, don't waste precious real estate in your personal statement. This is a time for you to reflect about what's in your CV and how it connects to your academic programs that you plan to participate in.
Okay. So a key piece that we really want to remind you all of is to follow the directions. Each university and college will ask something potentially different of you for your personal statement. They may say 500 words or 700 words, 250 words, 1 page, 2 page. what format they would like it in. So make sure, right, a key piece of entering into graduate school, it sounds very simple, but something that can set you apart and have a reviewer not even read your wonderful essay, your wonderful personal statement, is if it exceeds or is far below what they have asked of you. So make sure that you're really looking at how many words or what the format is that's desired. If that information is not there, you can absolutely reach out to that college or university, to an advisor, someone on their admissions team to say, okay, I see that there's a prompt here for personal statement, but it does not tell me how many words or pages it should be. So to ask what that best practice is, right? So here are some samples of prompts that you may be given. In an essay of approximately 500 words, state your statement of purpose in undertaking a graduate study at Temple University or at this school. As part of the statement of purpose, describe your academic and research interests, your career objectives, and how a degree from this school will enable you to achieve those goals. Please be specific. Another example might be attach a statement of about 2 pages describing unusual or important aspects of yourself, not otherwise apparent in your application. So as Mary said, they may already ask for a resume or already ask for your transcripts. So they will know what grades you've received, what courses you've taken. They may see on your resume or on your CV that you've had certain internships or certain work experiences. What can you tell them that's not otherwise visible from the other documents they're already receiving, right? So those are the stories, those are the connections you want to make. It could be a simple prompt, but not so simple to respond to. Tell us why you want to be a physician. Tell us why you want to work in law, why you want to be a chemical engineer, or work in any number of industries. Another prompt may be within 500 words, how have your background, life experiences, cultural, geographical, financial, educational, citizenship status, or other opportunities or challenges motivated you to make this decision to pursue a graduate degree at Temple University or another university, right? So each university or college may ask a different question of you. It's very critical that you adhere to their directions and respond to that question specifically. So even if you write a draft or if you write a really strong personal statement for a certain university, make sure that when you apply to 3 universities or 5 universities, that you make those changes that respond to the specific questions that a university or college is asking of you. Additional tips for success. Where to start, right? Think about, everyone's early draft process can be a little bit different. Think about what's motivated you to come to this point. What are your interests? What are your experiences, skills? What are your goals? What are your career plans, right? So that early drafting period can really be around the core themes or the core components of a story that you want to tell. While your story can be chronological, I had mentioned you want to tell a little bit about your past, what's brought you to this moment, a little bit about what you're currently doing, a little bit about what your future looks like. It doesn't necessarily need to be chronological in that order, but you do want to make sure that you tell each of those elements. Additional tips for success. Oh, Mary, I believe this is actually your slide. Is that correct?
I thought I had the last one. It's okay. Probably the most important one is start writing early. Give yourself time to write multiple drafts, to go back, and if you read something then and realize this doesn't really belong here, don't be afraid to take it out. Don't be afraid to revise. Seek feedback from others, especially people who have good English language skills and can help you make sure that your message is coming across clearly. For example, Temple University's Career Center has a website with recommendations and resources for helping students write their statements of purpose. This is very, very current. Be careful of using AI tools in your writing. This is something that is supposed to represent you, your own experiences, your own goals. Using AI can often sort of take out that personal part of your writing. We have also provided some very good annotated examples of some statements of purpose from MIT applications, and they point out where the student has included past information and how they've linked that to what they want to do in the future and so on. So it shows how this statement of purpose was put together. So take a look at those when you get a chance.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate
We
it.
have several minutes if you have any questions more specifically about writing a personal statement or any elements to this process.
Sure. Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you for your nice presentation and for the tips. We really appreciate that. So yeah, we do have questions. I think one of the most popular one that would come first from me, and I would like just for you to break down the myth about that. So just explain us maybe briefly what is the difference between the personal statement and the statement of purpose, because many students get really confused about those two. So if you can just give us a brief maybe example or an explanation on just what would be a personal statement and what is the difference than the one that you have explained to us now.
So our understanding in U.S. higher ed is those two terms are used synonymously. They are essentially the same. So some universities may title them as statement of purpose or personal statement, letter of intent, or letter of intent. There are a couple other, but really what you'll want to pay attention to is not necessarily the term, but the directives, right? So how many words, how many pages, and what the prompt is. So they may title it as something different, some sort of reflection, some sort of statement, some sort of letter, but really the prompt and the page or character or word count is critical. Sometimes universities don't necessarily require personal statements, but they may do more brief essay prompts. And again, what you'll want to make sure that you do is follow the character count and make sure that you're specifically addressing the question that's there. And each of the best practices and the pitfalls or problems that Mary shared apply even to those shorter responses. So even if it's not a one large letter of 1 page or 2 pages that you're writing, but maybe more brief responses addressing specific questions, still make sure that you're telling your story, that you're providing specific examples without being too personal or talking too much about other people. You really want to make that connection about you, your past, your present, and why this connects to your future goals. So those terms are used really interchangeably here in the US, which I know can seem confusing because they're different terms. But my understanding working in the career development space for many years is that those two terms really are quite similar.
And think about what you can add to the programs that you're applying to as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your advice on that. Okay, so we will proceed to the questions that we have received before the start of this webinar, so I can give them separately, or if you just want to choose between you two, which one you choose to answer. Okay, so the first one, what resources do you recommend to develop storytelling writing skills?
That's a great question. Storytelling writing skills. So I do think that in early drafts, generating ideas of what key things you want to share that answer the question itself. And I think one of the wonderful resources that we have here at Temple is the ability to work with a student success center or a writing center, right? So just as Mary shared with those tips for success, I think as you start to develop those early drafts of your writing and you create your outline and then you start really adding in some specific details, at each part of the process, connecting with an advisor or a person in your life who is confident in their English skills that can read your story, read your writing for clarity, for specifics, maybe make some suggestions for sequencing or adding details in certain places or pulling out too much detail from other places. And just as Mary had said, right, the story that you're telling is really why you are a great fit for this university, why it's a mutual benefit for you and this university to come together, why you would make a wonderful addition to the research team or the teaching team of this school. So I think making that connection, telling the story of why you would be a great fit. Mary often teaches also in the intensive English language program and has for many years. So I'm sure she even more broadly has some tips for just like generalized best writing practices.
Yeah, I mean, and like Erica said, adding in details. Start out with too many details. You can always take out as you're revising. And as Erica mentioned, like if your university has a student success center, work with a tutor, work with professors who have been helpful for you as an undergraduate, get their feedback on what you're writing.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, the other question that is here and has been addressed before the start of the webinar: is it possible to get to top tier university with 281 GPA?
So there are some universities that will put minimum criteria that cannot be changed or it cannot be renegotiated. However, it may still be worth applying. And then also, I always recommend direct correspondence and communication, so that if you apply into a large university, you may go into some like an automated system that will review candidates, many hundreds or many thousands of candidates. And if you just go into that system, you may not be reviewed. It may kind of go under the radar, is an expression we use. However, if you reach out directly to a faculty member or directly to an advisor or an admissions counselor, go onto the website and say, okay, here is a person in the College of Engineering or in the School of Law or in liberal arts or in education that I would like to connect with. It's possible, if you make that personal connection, that they may make the case for re-reviewing your candidacy. It's not a guarantee, but I always tell students this, whether they're looking for a job, they're looking for an internship, they're applying to a program. You need to do the system. You need to apply into the larger pool, the larger system, to be considered a candidate at all. But if you feel you don't meet the minimum criteria that the website or the university requires, doing that personal outreach, that personal and direct outreach on the side to one or many people will possibly elevate or reconsider or reevaluate your candidacy, because it shows that you have, really you're going above and beyond. You're addressing why your GPA might not meet the minimum criteria. Maybe that is a personal or professional issue or, moment that you feel you have moved past, or here you can kind of explain what the situation was. Again, not being too personal about it, but explaining how this isn't necessarily a reflection of the work you will do in the future. Here's why, here are your goals. So again, I do think that making that personal outreach or connection can help your case.
And that outreach, you may reach out to an advisor who may say, okay, you're not going to get into this program. However, here are some other programs that we recommend that you may not have considered. So it may open some additional doors for you.
That's a great point, Mary.
I agree. We also recommend our students in this case maybe to take a course afterwards. I mean, if that's the general GPA that he had in final year, then you can definitely just consider a gap year that can help you, just to take a course, an additional one, or to make your portfolio, or to get a job, an internship or something. That would just give more, credibility to your application, overall. So there are a lot of, I think, a lot of additional things that you can consider. And in this case, you can trust your Education USA advisor. I'm more than sure they will just advise you the best. Okay, good. The question from one of our students that have watched us during the live. Hello, thank you a lot for this presentation. Where could we get this annotated version of MIT personal statements? If you ladies can submit in the chat maybe the link to that MIT personal statement, I think that would be very helpful. I saw a bunch of links that you have shared in your presentation, so you can submit them here, definitely. Okay, so another feedback from Dina. Okay, good evening. Thank you, Dina, for being with us. And thank you so much, ladies, for sharing these interesting tips. I know that you have specified already some things that students have to avoid in their statement of purpose, but maybe from your experience, what other notes can be considered for the students, when they would just do their statement of purpose? I saw that you have also specified the AI. If you can just give us an example on how this is utilized nowadays, I think that would be very helpful, because we know a lot of students are using ChatGPT. So we actually spoke in a webinar about artificial intelligence and how this is used. But maybe you just can give us an example on how you are defining that this statement of purpose was written with the help of ChatGPT. I think that would be very interesting to our students.
So, Mary?
I was just going to say, when you're writing your statement of purpose, I think you need to start with your own writing. If you use AI to help revise, check your grammar, for example, not so bad, but AI should not be the first step to this process. You really need to sit down, give yourself some time, even just writing by hand to get your ideas on paper, because this is, I mean, you're looking back at least the past 4 years of university, possibly even beyond that. And you need to sit down and think about, okay, what in my past will make me a strong candidate for the programs that I want to apply for? And this is your experience. It may take you a while to remember, okay, what did I learn in that freshman year biology class that really stood out, that could be included on my statement of purpose? So starting with your own writing, maybe sitting down, talking to a couple of professors for some advice, and then maybe some AI to help you check to make sure that your message is clear after you've done some writing.
And how can you define that this statement of purpose was specifically written with the help of AI? Is it about the terms? Is it about the structure of the sentence? How can you define that? Because for us, for the advisors, how we define that is when we see the application overall. So we can see just a discrepancy between the essay, and we can see that in the extracurricular activity part. And I mean, we just, see that in every document that the student would just give us for his application. And it's very interesting to know how you define that.
Yeah, like you said, the discrepancy between what's on the statement of purpose and what's in the rest of the application. Does the writing style match, for example, or not? Would be one thing that advisors might be looking at. I don't know if any programs are actually using AI checkers at this point for statements of purpose. I mean, we're using them at universities for assignments that students turn in. So, I mean, this may be happening. I don't know. Have you heard anything, Erica, about?
Yeah, we do. So we have heard that in some university review, they're using these plagiarism trackers. And one thing to be mindful of is that there is an implicit or direct bias with language learners. There seems to be higher yield of sort of noting the use of AI or ChatGPT in writing, which I think is really unfortunate. And I think that they need to kind of work to reconcile that. But I think what Mary shared about getting all of your thoughts that are uniquely you, regardless of grammar, regardless of vocabulary, regardless of sophistication, typed on paper, get them all out, because they need to be your personal reflections, something that cannot be generated from AI. And if you use it for some of those smaller elements of revision or grammar, I think that that's, we're not necessarily recommending that, but we understand why students may use that as a tool. But I also think that, working with faculty who are familiar with your industry, or other graduate students familiar with your industry, or people in your life who are, again, confident in English or know you really well, know your story really well, asking those people for feedback, I think, is a better option with this particular type of writing, with this particular thing. This is a very high stakes piece of writing that I think you should only trust yourselves and the people in your core research or educational or personal circle to help you with. Again, as Mary had said, it does have benefits for some of the grammatical pieces of revision, but like as Alina had shared, the authenticity and your writing style, we're seeing it in not only the plagiarism review tools that we use at university, but also as people who review letters directly. You can see, and it's really hard to describe how, but there are, we want it to be authentically you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Erica and Mary. The other question that we've got in the chat is from Regina. What if the admission coming or faculty member do not respond for months and calling doesn't help either, is that a good sign to reconsider your choice of school?
Probably, perhaps. It may depend on deadlines, right? So if you apply early in the fall months, September, October, November, when the deadline is, they may not make decisions or invite students for interviews or candidacy until the spring. So it may be several months. However, if you reach out to people, specifically specific faculty members or specific counselors, specific people, so you're not just waiting on the process and that has a set timeline at a university, but you're reaching out to an individual person, asking for guidance or asking for feedback or, asking just general questions. That is not a great sign if a person is not communicating with you or you're reaching out to a team email and they're not being responsive. At Temple, our policy is, other than the weekends, to really try to respond our best within 24 hours. And I know that our admissions and advisors and counselors adhere to that. Faculty are also required to respond to students within 24 to 48 hours, unless it's their off season. So some of the summer months or over the winter holiday break. Those are certainly exceptions, but if you have not heard for many months, that may be a sign of a lack of communication generally at a university. And of course, when you're in your graduate program, you are going to need to have questions answered by faculty, by other administrators in the school. So you want a very communicative environment. So it may not be a great sign, but it's hard to say for a certainty.
I mean, maybe follow, if you haven't heard something in a week or two, follow up, just checking in. I mean, but you shouldn't have to follow up multiple times to get a response from somebody.
I agree. Good, thank you. The next question from Dina: if an older person can apply for a university master's degree program, is there an age limit, ladies?
No, absolutely. It is never too late to fulfill a professional or personal goal.
Totally agree. We have a lot of examples of students, of our alumni who have applied for even for an LLM program. I think I've had a live session with someone that was 46. So I think that's also very inspiring. So you can find a lot of stories like that, and that's an international student. So yeah, that can be, and not with the perfect English. She did an English course when she was in her first semester. So she made it even better. So she improved. So yeah, everything is possible.
That's a great point too. So at Temple University, we have English classes for graduate students that will support you in that process. So if you become an international teaching assistant or you need 4 weeks of intensive English, those are recommended for you to receive some intensive English before you start your program. Or if you want to enroll in your graduate program, but you may be required to take like 1 or 2 English classes for the first few semesters, that's something that Mary and I on our team, we offer here at Temple University. So that may be something that you look for at Temple or at other universities. Are there companion or other classes that can support me with my English while I'm also doing my research and my academic coursework?
Agree. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, ladies, for answering. So I think they're done with all the questions. I really appreciate your advices and your presentations. You guys, if you'll have questions after you will view this recorded video, you can also submit them here, or you can send us via our email address. In the presentation, you have seen the email addresses of Erica and of Mary, so I'm more than sure that you can reach them yourself in case if you are planning to apply specifically to Temple. Thank you very much for being with us today, guys. Thank you, ladies, for your presentation and for your wonderful advices. We wish you a lot of good students and a happy holiday season. And you guys submit for our next sessions and webinars. We still have one more webinar scheduled for this December, and that's going to be next Monday. And this is going to be a story shared by an Ukrainian student that is doing his LLM. So thank you once more for being with us today. I wish you a great evening.